Hi, my name is Benji Eugenio. In today's presentation, I shall be discussing with you salient features of Republic Act number 7898, also known as the AFP Modernization Act. Based on this Republic Act, it is hereby declared that the policy of the state to modernize the armed forces of the Philippines to a level where it can effectively and fully perform its constitutional mandate to uphold the sovereignty and preserve the patrimony of the Republic of the Philippines. Towards this end, the principal thrusts of the modernization program under this act shall be as follows: the development of a self-reliant and credible strategic armed force, along with the concept of a citizen armed force, reconfiguration of the armed forces of the Philippines, structure, and the professionalization of the AFP. The undertaking of reforms in the recruitment, training, and employment and management of AFP personnel. The development, validation, and modification of the AFP doctrines. The acquisition and upgrading of appropriate technology and equipment, and the relocation, improvement, and construction of bases and other facilities. What are the objectives of the AFP Modernization Program? The AFP Modernization Program shall be implementing in accordance with the following objectives. First, to develop its capability to uphold the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic and to secure their national territory from all forms of intrusion and encroachment. Second, to develop its capability to assist civilian agencies in the preservation of the national patrimony, including the country's living and non-living marine, submarine, mineral, forest, and other natural resources located within its territory and its exclusive economic zone, or the EEZ. Third, to enhance its capability to furnish or fulfill its mandate to protect the Filipino people not only from armed threats, but also from ill effects of life-threatening and destructive consequences of natural and man-made disasters and calamities, including typhoons, earthquake, volcanic eruptions, major accidents in far-flung or inaccessible terrain or at sea, and from all forms of ecological damage. Fourth, to improve the capability to assist other agencies in the enforcement of domestic foreign policies, as well as the international covenants against piracy, white slavery, smuggling, drug trafficking, hijacking of aircraft and seacraft, and the transport of toxic and other ecologically harmful substances taking place in or through Philippine territory. Fifth, to enhance the capability to assist the Philippine National Police in law enforcement and internal security operations. Sixth, to enhance the capability to fulfill the country's international commitments, and lastly, to develop the capability to support national development. What are the components of the AFP Modernization Program? The AFP Modernization Program shall consist of the following components. First, force restructuring and organizational development. The AFP Modernization Program shall develop the AFP into a compact, efficient, responsive, and modern with the capability to engage in conventional and/or unconventional warfare, disaster relief and rescue operations, and contribute to economic development and other non-traditional military roles. This component of the modernization program shall likewise provide for the identification, organization, training, and development of reserve force and affiliated reserve units of the AFP, especially in the Navy and Air Force. The second component is capability, material, and/or technology development. The AFP Modernization Program entails the development and employment of certain capabilities that can address the assessed threats, provided that the acquisition of an Air Force, Navy, and Army equipment and material of such types and the quantities shall be made in accordance with the need to develop the AFP capabilities pursuant to modernization objectives, provided further that the acquisition of the new equipment and weapon systems shall be synchronized with the phase-out of uneconomical and obsolete major equipment and weapon systems in the AFP inventory, provided even further that no major equipment and weapon systems shall be purchased with the same and not being used by the armed forces in the country of origin or used by the armed forces of at least two countries. The third component is basic support system development. The AFP Modernization Program shall entail the development of permanent bases for land, air, and naval forces to conform with national defense strategies and government's socioeconomic thrust, provided a systematic relocation of AFP units to enhance their capability in the performance of their mission, provide adequate support systems and housing facilities to AFP units and personnel, provide training grounds for maneuver and territorial forces as well as the reserve components and bases and camps, along with standard criteria for space allocations, zoning, and efficient correlation of land areas and structure. The fourth component is the human resource development. The human resource development component of the AFP Modernization Program shall have the following objectives. First, to strengthen the patriotic spirit and nationalist consciousness of the military and respect for people's rights in the performance of their duty. Second, to develop and transform the AFP into a primarily external security-oriented force. Third, to develop a compact, effective, and efficient, responsive citizen-based force. Fourth, to implement programs that will enable the AFP to perform its environment, resource protection, and multinational peacekeeping operations. Fifth, to convert the AFP into a people-oriented and professionally united force. And sixth and last, to improve the quality of life of soldiers and their families and reorient values of all personnel in the AFP. The next component is on doctrine and development. The transition of the AFP from the internal security-oriented force to an external security-oriented force requires a review, evaluation, and validation of its present set of doctrines for the purpose of formalizing such doctrines. Towards this end, the Department of National Defense and the General Headquarters, the AFP, shall be responsible for the orientation, evaluation, consolidation, and formalization of doctrines, the kind of periodic review and validation and doctrines, and the dissemination of approved doctrines at all levels of command. The Secretary of National Defense shall formulate guidelines to implement the section in accordance with the objectives of the modernization program enumerated in the preceding section. How are the capabilities of the AFP developed under this Act? The AFP Modernization Program shall be geared towards the development of following defense capabilities. Letter A. The development of naval defense capability. Given the archipelagic nature of the Philippines, the Philippine Navy should develop its capabilities for naval defense, amphibious warfare, sea lift and transport and surface warfare, detection and maritime surveillance, disaster response, as well as capabilities to anti-air, anti-submarine, and mine warfare. The enhanced Navy defense capabilities shall enable the AFP to develop its capabilities for naval defense, conduct amphibious operations for both military, civilian relief operations. Number 3, defend the Philippine territorial seas, all its internal waters, as well as the 200-mile exclusive economic zone or the EEZ, from all forms of illegal intrusion passages. Number 4, protect all submarine-based baselines of domestic and international communication. Number 5, identify all vessels and monitor all kinds of surface and submarine passage through the Philippine territorial waters. Provide transportation of personnel and material in times of natural disaster and rescue operations, and provide, if practicable, manufacture through Filipino skills and technology its own requirements for seacraft and infrastructure supply and maintenance. The development of air defense capability. The Philippine Air Force, or the PAF, being the country's first of external defense, shall develop its air defense capability by acquiring multi-role aircraft, air munitions, avionics missile system, maritime patrol reconnaissance, and early warning and control system, as well as capabilities for strategic and battlefield airlift and limited ground attack. The enhanced air defense capability shall enable the AFP, number 1, to detect, identify, intercept, and engage, if necessary, any aircraft illegally intruding into or passing through Philippine airspace. Number 2, provide air support to Philippine ground and naval armed forces. Number 3, provide airlift, search and rescue, rapid deployment, and related support to combat as well as disaster and other civilian relief operations, and provide, if practicable, manufacture through the Filipino skills and technology its own requirements for aircraft and infrastructure supply and maintenance. The development of ground defense capability. The fragmented nature of the Philippine land territory requires the Philippine Army to develop its capabilities for ground defense and internal security, as well as its capability for assistance to national development, search and rescue operations, relief and rehabilitation, natural resources, and environmental protection. The enhanced Army defense capabilities shall enable the AFP to Number 1. Locate and maintain adequate ground forces in strategic sites in the major islands of the country capable of carrying out independent or joint defense operations. Number 2. Transport personnel and equipment rapidly through all kinds of terrain in all kinds of weather conditions. Number 3. Conduct disaster relief and civilian engineering and construction operations. The next capability is the development of General Headquarters capability. The modernization of the AFP further requires the development of the General Headquarters capabilities for command, control, communications, and information systems network. How will this act be implemented? The modernization program under this act shall be implemented over a period of 15 years, provided, however, that the payment of amortization of outstanding obligations incurred under this act may extend beyond this period. What is the time frame for the submission of the AFP Modernization Program? Within 90 days upon the effectivity of this act, the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of National Defense and Budget and Management, shall submit the AFP Modernization Program as provided for this act to Congress for its consideration and approval in a joint resolution in the House of Representatives and the Senate. What is the appropriations mechanism for the AFP Modernization Program? The annual appropriations for the AFP Modernization Program shall include the amounts necessary to support the funding requirements for all modernization projects approved by Congress under the preceding section. The funds to be appropriated by Congress under this act shall be treated as a distinct and separate budget item from the regular appropriation for the Department of National Defense and the AFP and shall be administered by the Secretary of National Defense. The proposed program shall be based on a ceiling for the first 5 years, 50 billion pesos, provided that thereafter the amount may be increased commensurate to the increase of the gross national product, the GNP. Let me close by citing Section 10 of Republic Act 7898, which mentions about the so-called Self-Reliant Defense Posture Program. What does this mean? In the implementation of the modernization program, the AFP shall, as far as practicable, give preference to Filipino contractors and suppliers or to foreign contractors or suppliers willing and able to locate a substantial portion of it, if not the entire production process of the terms involved within the Philippines. Finally, the law was signed and approved on February 23, 1995. Thank you and good day.